But let's talk about what's going on with the tariffs and the pause. As I said, 10,000 troops to the border from each of these places. And as I mentioned yesterday, this is about the immigration crisis. We got millions of people coming across the border from Canada. No. In spite of the fear-mongering by this intelligence agent turned journalist, Jack Posobiec, it's like, look at this. There's nobody here at the border. It's like, yeah, how in the world can we not have a police state, right? Is there somewhere on earth where there's a police? And look, I've gone into Canada before. We've been harassed by officials going in. The interesting thing is the officials who harassed us were the American officials when we came back in. The Canadian people were pretty relaxed about everything. Can't have that. No. We got to ramp this up. We got to have a police state everywhere, says Jack Posobiec and many other people there. We got 21,000 pounds of fentanyl came into this country illegally because, fentanyl, as I pointed out yesterday, is something like opioids. It was produced by big pharmaceutical companies, and they like to weaponize that as well. You want to look at the war on drugs and how to solve that? Look in the mirror, federal government. You're the people who have been pushing this stuff and creating these problems north and south. But it's not really a big problem coming from Canada. Out of 21,000 pounds of fentanyl, they said, came across the border. 50 pounds of it came from Canada. Now, yesterday, I bought two 50-pound bags of chicken feed. You're going to put 10,000 troops on the border to intercept what's equivalent to a bag of chicken feed? Are you kidding me? This is crazy, beyond crazy. So, yes, 0.2% of the fentanyl that came across the borders illegally, according to the Trump administration, came from Canada. So they've got to put 10,000 troops on the border. Let's talk about how many troops that really is. In 2017, when we had troops in Afghanistan, it's Trump's first year, and I said for the first 6 months, okay, you said you're going to end the war in Afghanistan. You said you're going to protect the border. All right, bring the troops home from Afghanistan and protect the border. How many troops did we have in Afghanistan at that time? Well, in July of 2017, the Trump administration said that we had 8,400 troops. 1 month later, they said 11,000. So we don't know if there was a sudden troop surge or they were just lying to us, most likely lying to us, one way or the other. But let's average those together. That's about 10,000 troops. It's something like 9,700 or something, if I remember correctly. If you average it out, the two different numbers that they throw out a month apart. So about 10,000 troops in Afghanistan under Trump in the first year. He refused to bring those American troops home to protect the border. And we don't need to protect the Canadian border. It's the Mexican border. And now you've got 10,000 troops from Mexico, but also 10,000 troops from Canada. What does Trump really want with all of this? And what is he going to do in 30 days? Because, look, this whole idea that there's a massive wave of immigrants and fentanyl coming across the Canadian border is a lie in the first place. It's the kind of lies that he's been telling about Panama. It's just made up fiction for whatever his agenda is. We can speculate about what his agenda is, but we know that he is a liar. And he's lying about this stuff. Bull-faced liar. And so, yeah, he put 10,000 of their troops on the border. There you go. We'll have Mexico build the wall. We'll have Mexico patrol because our Pentagon can't be bothered to protect our own borders. We'll outsource it. Oh, yeah, like we did our manufacturing. How's that going to work for us? So, it's interesting, too, to look at how many troops, what percentage it is of the overall troops. Now, of active duty troops in Canada, they've got 68,000. So this is 14% of their military on the border to intercept what may be one 50-pound bag. I don't know how many bags they separated it into, but I'm 50 pounds, folks, that's not much. 0.2%. The other 99.8% somewhere else. Now, Mexico has 262,000 troops. Isn't that interesting how much bigger their military is than Canada? And they're not doing too well in terms of peace and prosperity, are they? See, it isn't the size of the military, how many guns you've got. It's the character of the people. And there's something wrong in Mexico. There's something wrong in Mexico, primarily because of our drug war. It's our continued drug war that is given rise to these cartels. Yes, they don't have to do it. There is something about the character of a country, but we saw the same thing happen in America during Prohibition with Al Capone and other things like that. So, given the opportunity, the business opportunity of Prohibition that's now gone on for, 54 years we're doing this year? 1971. And the U.S. war on drugs, but it's not really the U.S. war on drugs. It's the UN war on drugs that Nixon did for the UN. The UN created the 4 schedules and put the drugs in there and handed it to Nixon, and he ran with it. How many times does that happen? All the time. It's coming to us. Folks, the CIA is conducting a war of drugs on the American people. They conduct a war of sex and perversion on the American people. That's where that stuff is coming from as well. This is an occultic cult in Washington. The CIA, the DEA, the federal government in general hates you. You want to talk about making America healthy again? You might want to talk about how the CIA injects drugs into our society. Just like they did with the crack cocaine epidemic. That was entirely the American government, so it could fund its wars and make money and put it into these pools of black money, right? Dark money. And now they're going to kind of do it above board, in a sense, with the Strategic Wealth Fund. You see, they've had their black sites and they've had their black money for the longest time. Where do you think all this drug stuff is going? Isn't it ironic and hypocritical, both of those, that Trump would justify this new level of tariffs, this new bullying tactic, that he would justify it by drugs, portraying us as the victim, and we're the perpetrator of all of this. We picked this up and we ran with this UN agenda. It is a globalist agenda to destroy this country. And, they've done the same thing culturally, even architecture and art. The CIA has been there to try to destroy our society, to destroy beauty, to destroy morality, sexuality, marriage, children. All of this stuff, folks, has been coming from our own government. We are the arms, the legs, and the pocketbook of globalism. So don't tell me that we're fighting against globalism. So this great strategic importance. Bitcoin rallied as Trump signed the Sovereign Wealth Fund executive order. Of course, executive order again. He's a tyrant. He is a tyrant. He's ruling for his own benefit. Totalitarianism. This doesn't have anything to do with the rule of law, has nothing to do with the republic, it has nothing to do even with democracy. This is about orders that are going to benefit him and his financiers. This cartel of billionaires is a kleptocracy, folks. What do you think they're going to do with this sovereign wealth fund?